Hi guys, this is part 4 in my budget and finance series. If you happen to miss parts 1 through 3, I'll put links to each of those videos below in case you want to catch up on those. Today I'm going to talk about saving money on our bills. I've received a lot of questions about what to do if you live paycheck to paycheck, or what if you don't have the money to set aside for the different things I mentioned. And I thought that this would be a good video no matter what your income is or what bills you have to pay, because who doesn't want to save money, right? I'm going to share a lot of things that we've done, things that we still do because we like to save money, and this allows us to have money to save for certain things. And they're just suggestions, so take them as that, and hopefully you'll get some great tips. So I'm going to get started. I have quite a few suggestions on ways that you can save money on your gas and electric bill. Ours is combined, so I'm just going to kind of throw out ideas for both of them all at one time. But the first thing would be obviously to either turn down your heat or your air conditioning and just kind of dress warm if it's cold in your home, or dress a little cooler if you don't want to run your air conditioning as much. That's pretty simple. Also, you can turn it down at night. I think we sleep a little bit better when it is cooler anyway, so if it's winter, and just turn your heat down. One thing with turning your heat down though is that your furnace has to run pretty hard to get it back to the temperature that you are comfortable with during the day when you're up and moving around and everything. So you don't want to reduce it too low because it might really not save you much money. If you have a programmable thermostat, the best way to do it would probably be to reduce it in the evening and then allow it to gradually increase until the time that you wake up, so that your furnace doesn't have to work as hard. The same with air conditioning. If you turn it off for 8 hours during the day while you're at work and then want it to cool down to a comfortable temperature when you get home, it's going to have to work really hard. So it might not be the best to turn it way down, because it will just have to work harder. But if you can gradually reduce that, or just drop it by a little bit so that it doesn't have to work as hard. Also, definitely turning lights off. Just get in the habit and try to have your family get in the habit. I know one mom who was really trying to save on her electric bill, and if her kids left a light on, they had to give her a quarter. So that depends on what you want to do, but I just thought that was kind of cute, and she had a little story to go along with it, but obviously I don't want to ramble too much, but it was kind of a cute way to do it. Also, instead of turning on all of the lights, open up your curtains, open up your blinds, and use natural sunlight as much as you can, instead of turning on overhead lights and lamps. Things that are plugged in that might not even be turned on are still using electricity, and you can definitely unplug things that you rarely use. So if you have lamps in rooms just for decoration, you could unplug those, or unplug your toaster if you hardly ever use it, or just plug it in when you use it. I am such in the habit of unplugging our coffee maker that I always do that, even though I use it every day, but it would have to sit there for 24 hours until I use it the next morning plugged in. Now, you're not going to save $20 a month simply by unplugging things, but it will add up. So that's just one way to reduce it by a little bit, and the combination of a lot of things will really help. Think about ways that you can cook without turning on your oven. I use a slow cooker a lot. I use it at least once a week, sometimes twice, and that way I don't have to turn my oven on and heat it up. Another way to save would be to turn your TV off, especially if it's just running and no one is watching it. We have our TV in our family room in the basement, and it never gets turned on during the day. I'm always just doing stuff. John's working, the kids are at school, and we really aren't huge TV watchers, so we watch it in the evening, but that's about it. But if your TV is in the main room of the house and you just like it on, think about turning it off just to save a little bit there. Another thing would be ceiling fans. It costs quite a bit to run ceiling fans, so just make sure that you're turning those off if you're not in a room, or not overusing those, because they do cost quite a bit to run. So just, kind of monitor that a little bit. You can also save money by turning down the temperature on your hot water heater, just so it doesn't have to run as much to heat that water, and you probably won't notice much of a difference. You can save quite a bit by running your dishwasher on the 1 hour wash. I always rinse our dishes just really quickly, and we put our dishes in the dishwasher throughout the day, so I only run it one time a day when it's full, and I use the 1 hour wash because my dishes aren't like filthy. I mean, they need to be clean, but there isn't all kinds of food stuck on there, and the 1 hour wash gets them clean and everything, because like I said, there isn't like a lot of food on there or anything. I also turn the heated dry off on my dishwasher, and I save a lot of money that way, and I've noticed that before. I noticed way back before I did that, and when I started doing that there was a decrease in our electricity. So every single day running the dishwasher with that heated dry will really add up. And of course, if you don't want to cut certain things, you don't have to. I'm just giving suggestions, but that is one way. So I usually run it after dinner, and then by the time my boys unload it later in the evening, they're pretty dry, and they just dry off, if there's a little bit of water or something. And I know for sure it saves money. You can also save by running full loads. So like I mentioned, we run ours after dinner every night, and that also helps with keeping things clean and everything. But, it's very full. It's a full load every time I wash it. But I save money by not running it when it's, 3/4 full, and then, running it again later because I want, certain things to be washed or whatever. It just really helps. Also, you can save by running full loads of laundry. You will save a lot of water as well, and that will be another topic, but you won't be running your washer and dryer as much. I also hang up pretty much all of our laundry, with the exception of towels and sheets. So I dry those because they're kind of crunchy if you hang them up. But as far as our clothes, what I do is stick them in the dryer for like 10 minutes to get a lot of the wrinkles out. I still iron, but that way they're not like really wrinkly, and it's a lot harder to iron. But I hang up pretty much everything, and I've just been in the habit of doing that. Plus we're all tall, and I don't want to shrink our pants, so there are other reasons. But I know I would have to constantly be running my dryer, so I know I save money that way. Now this next one would be an expense that you would have to pay for, but ultimately you would be saving money. Get your ducts cleaned on a regular basis. We just had ours done over the winter, and we checked around for the best deals, but made sure that it had great recommendations and everything. And our furnace runs more efficiently and everything, because there isn't a lot of dust in our ducts that it has to work through to heat our home. So that's another way that you can save money, but it might cost you a little bit up front. You can check for drafts with your doors and either seal those, or there are lots of different ways that you can make sure that cold air isn't coming in. Also be sure to check and see if your windows are caulked properly, and make sure cold air isn't coming in that way, so that it doesn't cost more to heat your home because all of that cold air is coming in. Also, if you need to replace appliances, you'll just want to check and make sure they're energy efficient, and you'll save money over the long run in that way. Last thing for saving money on gas and electricity, we have interruptible service for our air conditioning. It was set up that way when we moved in, so we have a separate meter for our AC, and we save so much money, because I know a lot of my friends in the neighborhood will complain about how high their cooling bill is, and ours is a lot lower than theirs, and some people complain about it. So definitely check with if you have a neighbor that might have it, or just, you know, really read about it. But we haven't had any problems, and our cooling bill is so much cheaper. But basically, I think what it is they are allowed to turn your air conditioning off for like 15 minutes, I think, per hour. I could be wrong on that. If there's an emergency. I've never noticed them turning it off, so I've never had a problem with it, and we save a lot of money that way. So that's definitely something to look into. I don't really know about how to get the meter set up or anything. That would be something you would have to research. Like I mentioned, it was already in our home, but it's definitely something to look into. We have a few ways to save money on our water bill. Of course, we all hear, you know, turn the water off while we're brushing our teeth, so that makes perfect sense. Take shorter showers. Obviously, you're going to use less water. Also, turn the water off while you're washing dishes. You can either fill up your sink with soapy water and wash them and then rinse them all. If you have a double sink, you could, you know, have one part for washing them and then set them aside and rinse them all at once, instead of, you know, just allowing your water to run throughout the whole process. Also, like I mentioned, using the 1 hour wash, you're going to use less water if you're using the 1 hour wash as opposed to pots and pans. Those are some ways. If you water your lawn, you can definitely cut that out completely. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you want to water your lawn, what you could do is either water it early in the morning or later in the evening instead of when the sun is beating down, because the sun is going to, you know, absorb some of that water and it'll just take more water. The same goes for watering your flowers. You'll use a little bit less if you water earlier in the morning or later in the evening. And then, you know, if you're washing your car, just be sure to turn the hose off instead of just letting it run. You can check for leaks in your toilet. What you do is just put a few drops of food coloring into the tank and don't flush it, and see if over time that color drips down into the toilet bowl, and then you know you have a leak and you're wasting water that way. Be sure to get either toilet leaks or faucet leaks fixed quickly, so that, you know, you're not wasting money that way. You know, check your pipes for leaks and things like that. So those are just some things to keep in mind with saving money on your water bill. Now, phone, cable, internet. Now, these are things that aren't absolutely necessary. They can be. We have to have internet for my husband's job because he mostly works from home. But if you really want to cut and you're really, you know, struggling, you don't have to have the internet. You could just use it at the library for things like homework or whatever, and just make that part of your routine to go once a week or something like that. Phone, you know, we don't have to have smartphones. You know, we kind of feel like we need them now because we're used to them or whatever, but we don't have to. That is a way that you can really cut, just keep it basic. If you have a landline that you never use and you all have cell phones, you know, you can get rid of it and save some money there. As far as like kids with phones and everything, you know, that is completely up to you. You could just, you know, have your cell phone and your husband's cell phone, and then a cheaper phone if your kids are older and you don't want them home alone without a phone. You could get just a really cheap phone or a free phone and keep some minutes on it or whatever. There are a lot of ways that you can save money, and those things aren't absolutely necessary. One thing that we do, and we just did this, be sure to call at least once a year and check to see if you can get a lower rate on your cable or internet, even your phone. We always save money every single time we call. And this leads into cable. We recently just got rid of all cable, so we only have Netflix. And, you know, we could pay the bill fine and everything. And, you know, there have been times that we got rid of cable just because it was one thing that we could cut out. But we weren't watching it ever, really. We got Netflix, and we, like I mentioned before, we don't have the TV on much, so we were paying this money, and it was only for about 3 months that we were paying on it and just watching Netflix. and I started to realize, we're not even watching this. So we called, canceled it, and also checked on internet speed and if we could reduce our internet costs and everything. And we were able to save quite a bit of money. So definitely check back and see if they have better deals. Shop around for those things. Make sure you don't have channels that you never watch, or if you're really trying to cut costs, just cut them out, and rent movies when they come out. Use Redbox and Netflix if you really want to be able to watch something. But if you're really trying to reduce costs, you can also rent movies from the library, and sometimes they have recent movies. Some libraries are free, some will charge you like $1 or $2, some will only charge you if you're late. So that's a way that you can have some entertainment, but it costs barely anything or just a tiny bit of money. Redbox, they're only $1 something to rent for one day. So there are a lot of different options. I mean, it kind of all depends on what you want to reduce if you need to. You will save money by bundling them. So if you have the same provider for internet, cable, and your phone, usually you'll save money that way. We do that. So it kind of all depends. Definitely shop around. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but some phone companies, I know AT&T, they offer discounts for different companies. So a lot of times if the company you work for uses AT&T, just for example, other companies might do this as well, they will give you a discount as an employee. So there are a lot of discounts that way. I'm not positive on this. I think there is a teacher discount as well, but just be sure to check that if you want to take advantage of that, because I'm not 100% sure. Look into all kinds of military discounts, senior citizen discounts, any discount that you can get on pretty much anything, but I know definitely those type of things, they usually offer something like that. Then with your phone, be sure you're not overpaying for things that you never use. If you're paying for unlimited usage and you never come even close, just take a look and see if you actually need that, but make sure you have enough so that you don't go over, because then you can really get in trouble and have a higher bill that way. So just kind of balance those things out. Those are some ways that you can save money on phone, internet, and cable. For most of us, the largest expense that we have would be our rent or our mortgage. For rent, I would say if you aren't currently in a place that you have a contract with, to really look around and find the best deal. Check and see if things are included, like your water and things like that, because one place might have a lower rent, but it doesn't include things like water, and even some places include all utilities. So just really kind of check all of those things out and find the best deal. That's really the only tip I have as far as rent. There are a few different ways that you can save on a mortgage. If you don't currently have a mortgage, the best thing that you could do would be to really search around and find the lowest rate, because some companies will offer quite a bit lower of a rate. So just really shop around. Also, if you have really good credit, a lot of times you can qualify for a lower interest rate. So that's really important if you, really keep your credit score up or do things that will increase it, just making sure you're paying your bills on time. Really work at that before you go to get a mortgage. Also with a mortgage, if you get a 15-year mortgage as opposed to a 30-year mortgage, you are going to save a lot of money. Your payment will be higher, of course, with a 15-year mortgage because you have less time to pay. And you always want to make sure that you are actually going to be able to pay that per month, because it will be more. But the interest that you pay on a mortgage is crazy. My first semester in college, I still remember, I was only 17, so I didn't know a ton, but I remember we had to figure out how much you actually pay on a home over the course of 30 years. So my calculations came to over twice as much of what the home was purchased for, and I thought I did it wrong. And my teacher was like, no, that is what you actually will end up paying for your home. So you pay so much interest. So if you can't afford it, getting a 15-year mortgage is the best. A lot of us can't afford to do that. It's just simply too much to take on per month. What you can do though is just pay one extra mortgage payment a year. You can either do that all at once and just make sure that you note that it's going towards the principal, and you'll end up paying a lot less in interest. Or you could just divide it by 12 and pay that little bit extra toward your principal every month. That will drastically reduce the amount of interest that you are paying on your loan, and it will basically cut the life of your mortgage in half. So it is a great way to save on a mortgage. I apologize for the lighting. First it was really bright in here, and now it's a little bit dimmer, so I apologize. But there are some ways that you can save money on your car insurance. I mentioned in a previous video that if you can, put aside your money for your car insurance every month and then pay it all at once, you will receive quite a discount. Obviously that might not work for you, but one thing that you can do is definitely shop around and continue to shop around. So say you found the lowest cost with the best coverage and everything, be sure to check back at least once a year, because things change and there are a lot of different ways that they will give you discounts. So if you are a good driver, different companies have different things. Be sure to check back and make sure that you are getting the best rate. You have your car insurance and your homeowner's insurance with the same company. A lot of times they will give you a bundling discount, so you can definitely look into that. Also be sure to check on things like no deductible or a low deductible, and kind of see if you actually need that, or if you could have a higher deductible and pay a lower premium, and that is completely up to you. We have a little bit higher of a deductible, but we have the money set aside for a deductible, and that way our premium is a little bit lower. So that's definitely something to consider. Also, there are a lot of benefits to being a safe driver. A lot of times you will receive discounts if you haven't had a ticket in so long, but also your insurance is going to go up if you get a ticket. So, of course you want to drive safely, but it is going to save you money as well. So another reason to drive safely and don't text and drive. This is something I found out a couple years ago, but a lot of insurance companies now, and maybe they did this before and I just didn't know about it, but they look at your credit score. So it's important to keep your credit score in check for a number of reasons, but also for insurance rates. So those are just a couple different ways that you can save money on car insurance. As far as health insurance, be sure to shop around, know what your coverage is. So one company might have a lower premium, but they might not cover much. You might have co-pays. Just really, check and see, how much you're going to use it, what you use your insurance for, and see what's covered. Shop around and continue to shop around. Just like with car insurance, be sure to shop around at least once a year and make sure that there aren't any other deals that would work better for you. Also, with health insurance, consider deductibles as well. If you barely use your insurance, you might, and this is completely up to you, and I don't want to tell you to do this, but you can consider a little bit higher of a deductible if you don't use your insurance very often. We always make sure we have money set aside for our deductible, because that isn't something you want to have to worry about if something happens, but that is just something to take into consideration. Just really look at what you're using your insurance for and what your coverage is, and then consider deductibles and things like that, and also shop around. And also with insurance, make sure you stay in your network if you have one, so that you don't get charged or things aren't covered because you didn't stay in your network. I'm sure you probably knew that already, but just other things to keep in mind with insurance. Now with credit cards, of course, we can get into a lot of trouble. If you choose to use them, shop around for lower interest rates. Of course, I feel that it's best to pay them off. But sometimes things happen and, you charge something. So it is best to have a lower interest rate, and there's definitely variation in that. So be sure to look around. If you do have a credit card balance and you're trying to pay it off, be sure to pay the minimum if you can. Really, look around for ways that you can save money or get that money together, because if you don't, you're going to get late fees and charge interest and all kinds of things. So try your best to do that. If you have credit card debt and you're working to pay it off, look to see if you can find one with a 0% offer. And this is completely up to you. Do your own research. I'm just giving ideas. But sometimes companies will offer a 0% interest rate for a certain period of time. But look carefully and make sure there is either no transfer fee or it's very low, and just kind of consider if you're going to save enough money to cover that. But that's just something you can do, something you can look into to save a little bit of money, instead of paying that 15 or 22% interest for a whole year. You could possibly transfer it. And I want to mention again, do your research, make sure there aren't any hidden fees and things like that, but it's something you can definitely keep in mind. I have a couple more things. With cars, if you are going to buy a used car, be sure to do your homework. Look at Carfax, look at reviews, take someone with you who knows about cars, especially if you're buying a used car. Have someone check it out, because if I went to buy a car, I would not know what to look for. I would need someone to go with me and really search it out and make sure that it's going to run well, because it might look cute on the outside and whatever, but I get it, and it has all kinds of problems. So have someone look it over, even if you have to take it to a mechanic and have them look it over. If you are going to buy a new car, obviously shop around for interest rates. Again, the better your credit score is, the lower your interest rate will be. A lot of times they offer a lot lower if you have a really high credit score. Check around to see if a credit union or a bank will be better, and just look at those things. I would say make sure you're paying down your car if you choose to go that route. Make sure you're paying your car down as it depreciates so that you can sell it for what you still owe. That's important to keep in mind, because it doesn't always work that way with our payments, so you don't want to owe more on your car than what you could sell it for. And like I mentioned, Carfax, it will tell you if the car has been in an accident and things like that, so definitely check that out if you're purchasing a used car. As far as leasing, again, shop around and make sure you get the best deal. Be sure that you have enough miles, that you're not going to go over your miles. Really consider any of the extra charges that they offer. A little insurance on this, and different policies they try to have you add all these things on. Just really carefully study it out, and of course it's completely up to you, but just make sure that they are things that you want to add, and you're it's worth it. So just think about those things. Obviously keep the car in good condition so that you aren't going to be charged extra things for scraping up the car and things like that. Keep up with maintenance, oil change and things like that. A lot of these are common sense things, but sometimes it's helpful to have reminders. Now, college, if that's something you're considering or need to save on, there are a lot of grants and financial aid options available, scholarships. Really look into that. do your research. There are tons available, and see if you or your child qualifies for any of those. And then you can also consider having your child stay home instead of going away, and that way you don't have to pay room and board. As far as books, there are so many ways that you can get used books instead of having to pay the outrageous prices to get them new. Search online and see if you can find them used and save money that way. So I hope you found some helpful tips in here. I would love to hear your ideas and ways that you save money on your bills, and I think it would be good for us to be able to read through the comments and all kind of get each other's ideas. So please share if you have some ideas. I have a lot more ways to save money on all kinds of other things, so be sure to stay tuned for next week's video. Thank you so much for watching.